Welcome everybody. Now it's time for us to talk a little bit about utilities and how do we do Tableau in context of big data and the way from classic BI to big data. And for this, some words to myself. My name is Rene Greiner. I'm working in Uniper in the data integration area, and my primary focus is to get data ready for the customers that they can work with and they can unlock the value of the data. And you would ask, who is Uniper? Uniper actually is a spin-off from E.ON. It was a large utility 2 years ago, and they spinned off all the classic utility business like power generation. You see like this. For example, nuclear power plants, hydroelectric power plants, also energy storages, gas infrastructure, to go further, LNG, fluid natural gas. We have energy services where we do constructions and service and power stations and gas, and we have energy sales to small and large customer. That means a classical B2B business. We don't have B2C business. And we have the trading. The trading, you can imagine, is a little bit working like in a bank, where you can imagine you have the power stations, and they need to be managed because of we have assets there. We need to sell this to the market, and in the trading area, we are managing these portfolios and try to optimize and get the most value out of our assets. And you can imagine information is very key in this area because we need to be very quickly. We need to be very accurate or accurate enough to do decisions. That means information was always key to us. And actually, I'm based in this trading business, but I spread my hands, of course, in terms of data to all other areas. So, and also for us, we are operating in more than 40 countries. That means also when we talk about data, for us that becomes also a thing of we have to think about how to make it at some extent consistent and ensure integrity all over the world. Because of, you see, we are in different continents and also in different time zones, which comes across with this. Also, when we talk about cloud business infrastructure, you can imagine it's not that easy to operate. And in terms of financial figures, we have 1.7 billion EBIT last year, more than 100 years experience because of we are an existing company, and most of our power stations have also an older one. But I mean, this is a traditional business where we are coming from, so to say, now on the way of changing energy markets. We have more than 36 gigawatt generation capacity, mainly in Europe, Russia, and Scandinavia. And yeah, at the end, for us, it's very important that we tailor those solutions and we manage this complexity. And as you see the pictures, you can imagine there's complexity. We need a lot of information and data to make sense of it and also to earn our money, especially in the market where you know, I mean, if you read newspapers and magazines about solar power, changing energy, changing way of consuming data, prosumers, consumers, all these kinds of things. So that means for us it's really an environment to really think about and to adapt and to really get into this big data journey. Big data, not in this classical sense, as Gary mentioned this morning, is not that we say AI and machine learning. Those for us are sometimes more buzzwords. For us it starts very on the very ground. I come later to this. When we talk about data, I mean, our journey is a bit longer than actually when you read about big data, which is, I think, in the press the last 2 years, but now it's really in hype. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was an AI summit here in London, this building, and this was like everybody is doing now AI, it has to do AI, there's no other way around this, right? We also, to a certain degree, agree to this, but at the end we do it differently, a little bit differently. So that means if you look back in 2014, we started, this was a project I was running, and we called it Agile Data Warehouse Project on classical technology. And at this time, our target was just, I mean, to get a single point of truth, to make sure that we get integrity into the data and cost efficiency and visualization. Visualization was the biggest challenge, and we completed then this project. And at this point in time, we thought if you just try to consolidate the data at one point, then that does not bring really value to the business or to the people who are working with the data, just for the IT department, because they have lower cost and they can operate much more smoother. And we thought we need to also give something to the business. That was the biggest change we did in terms of when it comes to the way of working with data. We implemented with Tableau the first self-BI infrastructure in Uniper at all. And it was a very funny story about this, because we've been working so far with SAP, with business objects. People were used to this traditional kind of working with this. Here's my requirements, and then can you design a report, and we test it, but you know all the story, right? Because of self-BI is completely different approach. And we didn't want to struggle with internal debates and with what is better, what is not, because of this is just a question of belief. Either you believe something in self-BI or not. And what we did is a little competition. That means we asked 3 teams from the SAP, from the business objects, from another vendor, and we had the Tableau, so to say. And we asked people which were, very independent to solutions, and we said, here's a report, can you just reconstruct the report? And Tableau at the end was a winner, because you know how easy it is, you've just seen it in the Viz, and everybody was like, okay, we give you a try. And we started then with a proof of concept, with little money, I think 70,000 euros, something like this. We implemented from this money a server infrastructure, so that we also can scale very quickly, and this is then at the end where we started. And by the way, more than 15 large reporting systems we collected into one single point of truth. It's a classical Oracle data warehouse, not so agile, whatever, but at the end, before we closed even before we closed the project 3 months ago, 3 months earlier, we kicked off the big data journey. It means we realized that we have at a certain degree, a problem when it comes to big data. I'll show you what it is. That means if we talk about our data platform, it is simply like that we still have silos in the company. As you can imagine, we are there, as I told you, for a long time. Systems have been built, and this is very often as humans are acting, they're thinking in silos. This is my system, my database, and I optimize this, right? And they're not really fitting together, and it makes it, of course, for people who want to analyze data from different silos, very difficult to even access those data and to make sense out of it, right? We had at this point in time still Tableau there, and this is one big step forward, but at the end we could not really serve the customer very quickly, right, with the information, especially when you have this little bit think about this trading business. Every day the market is changing, and you need to do quickly decision, right? And then you cannot say, okay, it takes me a week until I have selected the data, I don't even know where the data are, and then I get it on your table and you can do something with this. So that means with the classical warehouse, we reached a little bit we reached at a certain degree the single point of truth for classical data. The governance was clear, everybody has to follow the same data model. This is also sometimes a harm that makes such a data warehouse project really, really difficult, and it was not easy to get everybody on board to have this in this common flat, in this common community. And quality. Quality was always key. We said, quality must be very high, because we are using those information for financial reporting, risk reporting, credit, regulatory reporting, nearly everything what we have in this classical data domain. So, but what we are missing is scalability. And that means whenever something comes, we need a new data chunk, we can scale it up, right? And without any limitations when it comes to storage. Flexibility is very important. If you want to do very quickly decisions, then it's extremely important that you can immediately do this, right? That means if somebody asks us, can I have from this exchange or from this broker or from this whatever kind of source, can I have this information? We need to have this within 1 day or at least 1 hour, right? And for this, if you ask yourself this, then the technology and the way of working changes completely. And diversity is very key for us, because in that moment you get more silos together, you get more people looking at from different angles, and it ultimately increases the data quality over time in your system. And therefore I like those tools like a data prep in Tableau, because of this brings, and this is our governance thinking, that brings the data to the people who are really owning and understanding the data. And over time you will increase this. So that means when you read governance there, our governance approach also changed a little bit. That means we go for driver license concepts, where people can even get a license for data ingestion, data management from my department. so that we really get in community implemented and people can do this stuff, what they can do, and can help to make the data better and to make it available to everywhere. And speed, I mentioned, speed is for us so important nearly everywhere. If you want to do big data and you don't have speed in your systems and it takes you ages, then and scalability, I forgot to mention, because I thought before, right, if you want to do something in the US and in Europe, then we need to have it everywhere available in the same kind of way. So that means for us, trends in our company is self-analytics. This is the key prerequisite. Without this, anything else is really useless, because people will not leverage the value of the data because it becomes too complicated, right? It goes hand in hand. Data must be available and people need to access the data independently of an IT department. And platform. I mean, this word or this word term you have here, I mean, currently it's everywhere, right? You see it in all the news channels, in media, social media, everywhere. But platform means for us a place where, like a market data place where people can collect data and can do the business, can share data and empower each other. Rapid data, I mentioned, is very key for us. And quality, one word to quality, when we talk about, I mean, we had a long discussion also in company what quality means, because of usually people are tending to get 100% accuracy in the data because of that they really can trust in. What we do is we do this based on use case. That means sometimes there are people that are willing to take more risk, right? Then we define with them together at which degree we invest in quality and which not. And then they can make their own choice in terms of cost and value, what they get out of this. Another important thing is if people are coming to us, we don't charge them. That means we're not asking, can you give us some money, because of that we can do your stuff. So the fundamental approach is we make it open to everybody and they can use it. Of course, I have my budget responsibility, but at the end, as long as I can, over a year, I can showcase that we have a good return on investment, I get the sponsoring from my CIO or CTO for this. This is very important, because of then it becomes really an alternative product in our existing ecosystem. So, I mean, how did we do this? Which elements do we see in this such a data platform for us? Again, single point of truth. And here there are some more things like what we are doing differently now in this platform. And it starts with data catalog and transparency, because of this is very important. And that moment you go there and you say everybody can have the data, then as a data minister I have a little bit of topic, because for two reasons. I want to have scalability. That means I don't want to have 100,000 of silos. On the other hand, I want to have competition in the business about the best output. This is also important. And for this, not going there and you have to follow this and having 100,000 of alignment meetings, I don't want this. The best way for us is, the best measure is that they don't even know ourselves, right? So that means that people don't know us, my team. So, and for this, we said we go for a data catalog. That means everything what we ingest in this database or in this data lake gets catalogized. So that we mean that we know who's the user, for what purpose, is this live, is this a prototype? We can tag data, for example, this data you can use for P&L, this data you can use for this and this kind of analysis, for this function, etc., and the data are ready to share, or data are not ready to share. Because some of the data you can't share for regulatory importance, GDPR, for example, right? A lot of regulation you have to consider. This is our role to bring into this. And another thing is what we added to this is metadata and lineage. This is very important to us because of in this platform business, it's very important to also serve data and make the platform more attractive because it lives from the data. And for this we have tools like where we can look in other systems, sourcing systems, primarily internal systems. We can select the right single point of truth, original point of truth, where we can ingest the data. And we do not ingest all data, only data which are very useful, very value-driven. And yeah, I forgot to say something about privacy, security. This is very important, and I think this is a. I mean, we are in the public cloud, to say this, with this big data. So that was a long debate, not long debate, I would say. We had a conversations and different opinions in the company what to do with the cloud. Do we stay on premise? Do we go on public cloud? Do we go somewhere there? And you can believe in, if I go in the public cloud, I like it more to be with all the others, and I expect that I'm better treated than if I'm on my own premise where somebody else can do something better to this. And this discussion at the end does not really bring you further. So what we have done is we also said, okay, let's give it a try, and we go with a kind of proof of concept into this, and we say we go into the public cloud with one constraint. That means we don't do financial data like general ledger, P&L accounting, and those kind of stuff, right? So, and which is basically for big data anyway, not this kind of interesting data. Because if you want to do prediction, I mean, what does it bring you if you have the general ledger from the last 10 years, right? It doesn't tell you something about the future. That means from the data, anyway, we are looking for completely different things. It was also a good compromise. We made this compromise, we have it in our governance, and we moved on. And so we were in the public cloud, we can scale. And this is really fantastic. So data organization, this is one of the trends we see in this platform business, that at the very end, classical departments are becoming obsolete. Because for every use case, you need different combination of skills and people. And therefore, we are thinking in communities, design thinking, agilities as are those buzzwords. But at the very end, it means something to the classic organization. Because if you run through a data use case, then sometimes a manager of a line function doesn't even know what his employee is doing. So, and in some cases very good, in some cases we have some discussions, but at the end we want to have the people cross-functional working on those use cases, and this is how we do this. This is our approach, very different to classical organizations. And one of the biggest change, I would say, which comes with digitalization anyway, right, in many organizations. Technology is for us another element, only then it works, and this is about scalability, like enterprises like us, because of we cannot, with every use case or every 10th use case, we cannot increase 2 or 3 employees, because of this is not the story, it's not the deal we made with our board. That means we need to always to ask ourselves that we can scale in a way that we can, one use case we are realizing must be built in a way that we can plug and play it somewhere else. That means if we have automated, if you have realized one use case, it must work also for other functions and domains. And any device is for us very important. That means so that we can work on classical desktops, we can work on mobiles, we can work on iPads, tablets, whatever people are used to it. And last but not least, this is the biggest change. What we have done, we are completely use case driven. And this means we are solving pain points. And when I talked earlier about to get this platform ready, it took us a half a year from summer last year until end of this year, and we went live with the platform within our company in January. And then we said, how do we go now out of the world? And what we don't want to achieve is that people are coming to us as now the golden solution, and we are overflooded with work and we cannot really deliver, and then the people are saying, it's the same as we had in the past, right? So, and therefore we said we go use case by use case. We had during this implementation phase, we had some sense of what the people, what pain points are, and those pain points we started in realizing. And meanwhile, we have over, I would say roughly 10 to 15 bigger use cases implemented within a half a year, and this is growing and growing, and this is really cool. That means we have also time to adapt to this. That means we are not, so to say, not coming into constraints, because also our learning curve we have also to create, right? It's also for us a big learning curve. And their self-analytics is for us key, because in that moment we have always, I would say, a good argument. If you reach out to people, we say, what can we do with them? We can ingest your very quickly data, whatever kind of sources, right? And you get a fancy tool, is Tableau. And the people are like, that's a deal. And we say then, if you don't need to pay because of, we can cross-charge this to all the others because of, there's so many departments on this platform. That's cool story, and people like it. AI, ML, I put an ETC there because AI is, I see it more like Gary this morning, like augmented intelligence, I think he called it, right? AI usually starts where we, with bigger statistic analysis, and step by step you come somehow to predictions. That is how we see this, right? So otherwise, we are risking to get into a hype, and the organization is also not ready for this. It also takes a while until people really understand. And who wants to trust a black box, right? So not really. So that means it's a process. For us, also rapid prototyping is something. Is one of the essential changes. That means when a use case comes, then we, to us, our pipeline, we say we're gonna try to prototype this within a month. And within a month, we must achieve a progress where we can then, in the next 3 to 4 months, we can plug something into production. That means also there that we are very competitive, and we can very quickly help the people. And also we get with this compromises in terms of when it comes to requirements, right? Many people still thinking in terms of requirements to a classical IT department. But this goes away with this because we can then slice and dice those problems and solve it over time. And life cycle is one thing I would like to mention because of we're saying we have 3 stages. We have prototyping, live, but also throw it away. Because in big data, not every idea, not every fancy thing becomes the golden revenue, right? You have to also be ready to cancel it and to send it to the backlog, I would say, in these words. So that means if we talk in terms of Tableau, we have currently more than 400 Tableau readers. We are increasing with this year. Since we are part of the digitalisation program of Uniper, we got also a lot of power station users. We saw the pictures with the power stations in progress of getting digitalized. And all those users will use Tableau for this analytics. And this is a really cool story for us because that brings us this year another 200 to 300 people working with Tableau. And for this you can see now how this correlates with if you have a good platform, a scalable platform, because we can easily log them on and implement them. We have desktops, of course. We have Tableau server infrastructure. We have Livebooks, a lot of. Very important is the departments. The department is not meant in a team life level. This is more like on a higher level. And here the message is we are applying Tableau in nearly every function, like business decisions. We are now in progress of rolling out to finance. We have it in IT support, for metrics, for supporting legacy systems running, and procurement portfolio office for project management. So it means we have showcased that we can run Tableau in every environment on the same infrastructure. So this is also a very important thing. Governance, I mentioned. Governance is, again, I don't need to repeat myself, but this is very important to us that we know who has access to what, and that we also, based on this, we can clean data, right? We're also thinking in terms of using those AI technologies to manage data better, because if we can sense who's using what, where are they, who could be interested into data, if you get a new data set in, who could be interested in those data, right? So all those cases are on the horizon. So when it comes to people, and we truly believe, I mean, we heard it a couple of times, and also confirms, but we're following then also what Tableau is saying, in terms of we need to educate and we need to give the people the tools at the hand that they can unlock the value. And for us, this starts very often with a mindset. So and since we're coming from this traditional space, so we have, so to say, the people who are used to self-BI, and then we have or self-analytics, we have the people coming from the other river side. We have to make them ready. And this is for us really a journey in terms of, again, we have to repeat, and we have to educate, and we have to keep the engine running. This for us is a thing. Only then we get agility and value driven, right? Only then. If not, then you can make a Tableau to the point of people can use it, but they're not really, they cannot really shape the data and get all those insights what we have just seen in the trophy this afternoon. Just in 20 minutes what we have built is ridiculous, right? So it's so fantastic. And but to achieve this is difficult for us. So, but what do we do for this? We have our own communities, and we do partnerships and knowledge sharing. We have Tableau Champions and data stewards. For this is also very important that we connect them well together. We have Uniper Tableau Days. Also, we have fostered this year a cross-industry Tableau user group in our company. It was a regional one in around Düsseldorf. And if you do this, then you get speed and low cost, because of only then it can scale. Otherwise, you will always ask for, can I have a project, can I have a consultant helping me? Then the consultant goes, then it goes back. And people are saying at the end, Tableau is not so nice, right? So it's not so easy to use. And this is something we want to avoid, and therefore that's for us. Okay, and then, it's a journey, and there is no real finish line, I would say. So this is always our mindset, right? So when we talk about the platform, how is this composed? And it starts with data sources. We have the ambition to serve any data, any source. This is very important to get the acceptance very quickly, of course, as said. Then we have a data backend. This is our engine, so to say, to feed the data to the customers. And here we are working with Azure, Snowflake, Azure HD Insight, Cosmos DB. These are our main stacks to really get this engine running. A partner for us in this context is, you see here, this Talend, Microsoft, and Tableau comes later. Snowflake, now new on the horizon. And for data preparation, ingest, or data preparation in a bigger scale, it means really where we have big data streams from many systems, also from World Wide Web, etc. We're using Talend. We have APIs, Kafka, Azure Apps. For those guys who are interested a little bit in technology, these are the key things. And catalog and governance, we're using Talend because of this gives us, I would say, the overall thing. Then we have the user suite. We call it user suite because of our ambition is if the users are coming, so they need to stay in this area. So not necessarily, but ideally they get everything what they like in this place. And there we have Tableau Self-Analytics. This is the one. This is for us on top. Most people are working with this. Then we have the R's and the Pythons mentioned several times, right? It's also very good that we can integrate this. And then we have the Azure AI suite. We are now in progress of activating this, also getting first use cases there to see what can we do with this AI stuff. But this all together makes it meaningful. So then, if you have any questions, then ask. So just some examples, just three. This is, for example, this is a gas report that comes out every day in a trading organization. You are obliged to value every day your portfolio and with positions with P&L, etc., because of this becomes an so to say an audit relevant exercise. So and for a company. So, and this means this is just a show what you can see. You see the countries, you see the exposures, the limits, etc. So that at the very first glance, the trader or the trading organization can see in which portfolio we may have an issue, or we have or limit or threshold exceeded, and there is some action required. And if they like to dig into more data, then they can do this on the dashboard or somewhere else in other sources, so they can dig into the data. But this is the way how we show this. It's just one example. We have plenty of those reports. Then this is maybe a very interesting one. It's about gas storages. This shows you a little bit how do we, I mean, if you have a gas storage, you can imagine that you can store gas. I mean, this is a gas storage, the name itself says this. But if you look at the market, in winter, the prices of gas is higher than in the summer or in other seasons. Or if something happens to the market, for example, the Russians, they say we produce more gas, right? So that means on the exchanges, prices are going up and down, and our job is to predict, of course, what's the optimal injection and storage of gas into the storage, because for later use. And this is a time spread we can realize with this. It's just one example, and for this we're using Tableau. And this is a very good case because of this is something we can shape into this kind of machine learning, AI, and those kind of stuff, right? But this is all built on Tableau. And by the way, not on the project, it's just done like this. So, and last but not least is a prototype we are currently working on. This is about near real-time position P&L reporting. What does it mean? If you are in the trading business, every day during the day you do trades and you do open positions, etc. And you want to know what is my current, what's the impact on my portfolio. And in traditional way, you have to wait for a very accurate calculation until the night, because of then all the classical systems were running batch processes, were computing your P&L, your position, etc. And the next morning they get an, okay, this is what I have done yesterday. And our ambition is now with our platform also enable this functionality, much more elegant and much more scalable and much more cooler. And for this we're using Tableau. We're feeding the data into the backend you have just seen before. And we are going ahead to calculate then during the day P&L, profit and losses, positions, so that the trader can see, okay, what is my portfolio value? And the cool thing with this is, with every calculation we do and all input data we do, we store them. Later on, we can do AI, machine learning. We can look for data patterns, because, for example, other guys bringing market data to us, weather data, wind prediction, etc. You get a full set of data to make more money out of this, right? So, and this is for us a really cool story. And another thing is in this. Since we're doing this, we can switch off those functionalities in legacy systems. So that means where people are paying money and having big support teams, etc., we can plug this off. We can say, look, for this is again just from the cost perspective, this is a cool case, because we save money. On the one hand, we give better data to the people, and we have more possibilities with this. And this is our access, not to stuck into discussion. Shall I do now AI, or shall I do big data, whatever? Because from the very first moment, we can deliver value. That means we get the data on, we help them, we structure them in a certain way, and we take out the operational risk, we give them better data back, and then they have their own choice. At any point in time, they can start all those fancy stuff whenever they feel ready with this. And we have a good business case realized. So that means we do not come in any contradiction with our board, because they say, you're spending money, but where's the revenue? Huh? Because with revenue is such a thing. I mean, not every idea or every prototype gives you big revenues back, right? So, and to avoid this, we do it like this. It's really a good approach for us in the company to scale. And when we see, for example, project proposals or initiatives somewhere else where we think, oh, we can add this data to the platform, it's better. It also helps our community, and at the very end, it brings cost effect and also possibilities. Then we do this, and we go there and we ask, can we do this, please? And if we then, for this, we need lower costs and we need to be faster. So, and this is a little bit our approach. And this works, I would say, very well so far. And yeah, and when we look in the future, so the builds, as I said, data is important. There is no real finish line. That means our approach is really then to go from one case to the other for the next half a year. We're going to implement a new data model for deal capturing, for example. We try to stress how far can we go with a classical big data platform. We have first prototype ready where we can capture even traditional complex deals, so which gives us even more a bigger footprint. That means we those fragments we can reuse when you're hearing those words like blockchain, etc. So these are those elements in this, and this is very, very cool. And also there we can save, we can take out stress of other systems. We are working very much with data from outside the company. So get those things in, like you can imagine weather predictions, temperature. It's all important for us that we can predict, okay, how will be the winter season this year, right, or the summer. Right, in the summer, if everybody is consuming energy, right, and switching on, like for example, very often we have it in Italy. It gets really hot. All the guys are switching on the local cooling air conditions, and then the demand gets really tough. We cannot store energy. That means we have 15 minutes to get the grid ready, right? And in those cases, if you have not a good prediction, then you can always buy reserve power, but this reserve power is very expensive and you have to pay. This goes in your account and your profit is gone. It works the other way around. If you have too much or too less, in both directions, you pay more money. It's like a penalty. So for us, we have a high interest also to see, okay, how can we improve this? And for this, of course, you need data from this team, but also from the future. And all those data we try to bring together and to make it work. And this is a classical field for us where we say this is for us this kind of AI, machine learning. Right? So, looking at the clock, so I'm at the end of this talk. Questions? Champions, yeah. Tableau Champions is selected from very different angles. So it means this is not an obligation. So we ask for people, for example, if a manager says, yeah, my team wants to work with Tableau, and we say, can we have a Tableau champion from your department? Currently we have 8 or 10 Tableau champions. They're meeting every 2 weeks. And Also, it's up to them to decide in terms of to come up with proposals, what do they need in terms of capabilities and where do they want to work, etc., etc. And we try also to give them a little bit like a VIP status, right? For example, if you say, Helmut is here, my key account there, we say we need some doctor's appointments or we need a Tableau day, etc., like this, that they also get the support they can spread. And this so far works very well. A challenge is always for us when we go into new business fields, as I mentioned. For example, imagine people in the power stations, right? The power station is operating for the last 20 years. And you can also get a sense about the people there. Not a good or bad, it's just a way of working we have to change. And this is then, in that moment you get 180 people from those power stations, this enormous effort for us to get this education into the field. And this is a challenge for us. And sometimes I have to then make compromise. I say, okay, I go for external support, but only in this way that we get it running. But then from the very first moment, we try to make it clear that afterwards you have to do it by your own. But it's a challenge for us. It's a challenge. So I would love to have such a community as we have it here. So we can even make more speed. And very interesting in this is our finance colleagues now from the IT department approaching us, and they're working with SAP as a backend for finance data, and for them it's a completely different way. Because use cases and all this. So it means even this takes a while to get there. So therefore, for us, this take time and give people to adapt, but also keep the speed a little bit, right? Because what we see right now is all this new technology gives you the potential of a tremendous speed. And it's faster than people can adapt, meanwhile. So that means the people component becomes for us in this digitalization, what I see is the critical, is the rest pass, so to say. If you go to university, everybody wants to work with cool new tools, right? You get them easily over. So, but in existing organizations, so we have to deal a little bit, I would call it parallel worlds, right? And people are saying to us, this is a new world, and this is the old world. So, and with this, the problem starts already because we're dividing people into two different groups, right? New world, cool, old world, not so cool. And it's for us a transformation challenge. So, and for this, but the good thing is for us, meanwhile, we have been seen in an organization, we are part of the Uniper digitalization story. So that means we also can influence this because the way of is completely different. And does it answer a little bit of the question? Okay. Another question. Yeah, please.
In the beginning of your presentation, you
Yeah.
mentioned single point of truth.
Yeah.
Thank you. Single point of truth for your data data, right? I assume you don't have your entire reporting environment all in Tableau. So do you also have a single point of truth for reporting?
We have. That was not very clear. In the data warehouse, we do when we talk about the reporting, we have in our company's classical finance, accounting, controlling reporting, which is SAP based, but big parts are coming from our platform because we are taking care about the gross margin, so to say. What do we achieve in terms of energy, buy and sell, coal, gas, whatever? This is so to say, the gross margin of the P&L. All the rest, like tax, travel costs, etc., is based on SAP, right? So, and this is, I would say, 80% of this is based on Tableau. So every day the reports for risk, for steering, for front office is Tableau based. This was one of the, when I remember when we started with Tableau, then we had a discussion, do you really want to use it for this kind of purpose? Because we just want to do analysis with this. No, we can make it work because the user usually starts with this. If you go to people and we say, you know what, we want to do cool analysis with you, but he has a problem today. Every day he spends 80% of his time to get his existing stuff ready, right? I mean, how big is the likelihood that he will say, yeah, cool, let's do this? So that means for this we said, let's tackle this, and with this we get the people on the Tableau and we have everything in the structure, so for later use. So this is how we did this. So we started with daily reporting, and now we are with analytics, as I mentioned, all the stories are now coming together. And people are used to it, right? They do not even question that we do, that we have on the big data platform, we have Tableau. This is for them clear. It was never a debate, right? So we said this is Tableau, and only there, please. So, and this is also a little bit how we try to motivate people because of, in our platform, they get the support they need. Also, they don't need to pay licenses, etc. This is paid, this is sponsored, and then they can start right from the beginning. And we make sure that they get the data on the point on the Tableau server. Does that answer the question? Yeah? Other questions? Yeah, please.
Yeah, you said most of the main business is B2B, but
Yeah.
is there also any consumer data you can use nowadays with the connected home and the smart devices and the sensors and everything like that?
Yeah, I think it's a good big data question because of this gives is a good example how the data world works together. Even that we don't have B2C customers, it's very important for the demand we see in the market. That means other changes, behavior. For example, take solar power. Solar power is now one solar power there during the day, right? In the past, it was like the highest prices you have observed around the lunchtime. 12 o'clock was in Germany, also I think UK, the most expensive point in time. This today is sometimes the cheapest because of the sun is so high. So that means all the things together. A customer is not taking attention about, oh, the sun is not shining, wind is not blowing, but I don't switch on my computer. He does it regardless of this. And those information, of course, is important for us to steer a portfolio and to manage this and to balance the power station, because of the power stations at the very end are serving the electricity with all the other components and the economy together. And therefore, those data are very important. Otherwise, we are becoming a silo. We just see our portfolio. But if you look at the portfolio effect, right, and you have the customer's demand, you have demand or supply from windmills, etc., then you can sense how big the risk is in the overall portfolio. You can better price. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah? Any other question? Yes, please.
Can you explain better where are you using each kind of database? You talked about Snowflake, Cosmos DB. For which use case you are using?
Yeah, the classical data, also the Snowflakes and Azures, we're using for structured and semi-structured data, but we serve everything with this. This is one central pot. So, and when we talk about Snowflake, when we talk about Azure, we still have the point that we have a little bit container because of, for example, if Department A comes, Department B, etc., and C, and sometimes data cannot be shared with others. Let's say a generation asset has information which a trader is not allowed to see. So those kind of information we have to isolate and we pack in different containers. Now, since I mentioned we are on Azure cloud, Snowflake is not yet available in Germany or at least in Europe. It comes in September. In September, we start or move all use cases we have built so far going to Snowflake. It gives us much more scalability because we can create all those virtual warehouses. And use cases we're currently now starting, in the process of starting, are built on Snowflake already. So that means if you're talking this, Snowflake becomes the major backbone for us in terms of database.
And Cosmos DB?
Cosmos DB we are currently using also for real-time price feeds, for example. We have not yet, I did not show it yet, but in the next 2 months we also launch an app. For example, this goes a little bit in this customer arena because of we have the B2B customers. They will get their information via an app in Google Play and in iOS. And for this, we need this kind of backend. So this was just, so in the future, we have to see a little bit. I mean, at the end, we try to keep this ecosystem, I think, as clean as possible, but it's not really possible. This is one of the lessons I learned in big data. You have to be able to allow a little bit more than just this one DB. And when we talk about single point of truth, we do not necessarily mean one MongoDB for everybody, etc. That would, that's not what we mean. So we try, as you see, we try to work with relatively, I would say, modern, state-of-the-art components, but not with the most fanciest one. So.
And the data catalog is where you store all the metadata that points where you have the data in it.
Exactly, and for this, the data catalog will give us the location of all the data. So this is important to me because if somebody comes, I want to have this data, I think this container we need, but you shouldn't have the key to this, right? So, and this kind of information we're putting in the data catalog. The data catalog, we are in progress of rolling this out and activating this. We have first things implemented, and I think in the next 2 or 3 months this is done, and then we have it running. So in all use cases are ultimate. And this is really cool. This is what I like compared to traditional data warehouse. At the moment you do an ingest, you get your catalog field. Or you see at least what is empty, what people have left out, etc. And this is a key thing. Also very it's a very big change to the people, because now we are asking, we need to catalog the data. No one asked the question before. And in the classical warehouse, what I remember was like you have, I don't know, 2,000 tables, and after a while, when people left the teams, no one knows anymore, where do I find my data, duplications, all those things. But catalog, yeah, and we do this right now. Any other question?
Hi. From a performance point of view, do you have to do much pre-combining or aggregating of data in your data layer, or do you find that the performance is good enough to allow people to combine and aggregate just directly in Tableau?
So it's a good question. It comes to the governance point of view. In governance, we define like we want to motivate people to use flexibility we give to them and also make those things. To answer their question, if this use case is for him very important and only for him, then we can say straight away do this in Tableau Prep. So because then we don't need to do this in the backend very extensively. If it is a case that we say, for example, this also matters for others, then we need to find a way to get this back and to correct the database, right, the central store. And this interaction we have to work out now with Tableau Prep. It's not for a long time there, but this is the interaction we're looking. At my point of view, I would love to have the people are doing their data and data prep and doing the data quality and preparation of data in a way that we can then send this back and bring it in our data store, right? So to answer the question, yeah, we want to have people using those technology to improve data.
Thank you.
Yeah? Answered? Yeah?
Hi there. Thank you for the presentation, first of all. I'm curious about the earlier stages when you are asking the business users what their actual requirements are, surveying that, and the difficulties you may have found when you were doing that, identifying the communities, and any maybe key takeaways from that process of asking the business what they need.
So yeah, I mean, how do we do this? I mean, what we do is in the big data world, we're looking for pain points. What we have once a month, we have a community meeting. This is steering group at the end. But it does not work in the formal way like a PSC. What we do is we give an update. Which use cases do we have there? I have in my team, so to say, spokes or point persons who are working in each different data arena with the key stakeholders together. And on this level, they align on the use cases they want to see and want to do. And that means when we start those use cases, from the very first beginning, we have always the business owner, the use case owner on the ground, and he's owning this. We are just the enabling function, and we help him to get on the ground and to get this done. And this gets a huge discipline into the users because of the need to think about, is it really valuable? Because of they can't say later, oh, the IT has done this, I don't know what they have done, blah, blah, blah. This all goes away. And he's the one. And we say, we enable you that you get the data in the best way and in the quality you need, and etc. So this is how we do this. So I would say stronger accountability of use case owner, purely with them. Yeah? Other questions? If not, I would like to thank you very much. I hope that was a little bit inspiring. If not, I mean, you have our address, the email address, I think the contact details. So if there are, you want to do exchange opinions, we are very open. Also, we are in the learning curve, so to say, learning experience. And for this, we are very open to discuss and also exchange and to get also some valuable insights. And yeah, from you. Thank you very much.